Cutback for Vasilev and Lukic! A banger of a strike for Jovan Lukic's first MLS goal!
It's fallen out to Westfield! Oh, wow! He's nearly taken the roof of the net off! Philadelphia pounce again!
Who gets his goal in his Union debut? The record signing! Off and running in his first appearance for the club!
Hello and welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd, and your Philadelphia Union 1-0 victory over FC Cincinnati. You saw that one coming. I surely did not, and we'll talk about that tonight on the podcast with José Núñez. But yeah, it is great to be joined by José again. Missed last week, here this week, and maybe one of you guys will make a comment and compare José Núñez to Bruno Damiani for, sometimes he misses those goals. And just like José Núñez missing some of the appearances on the podcast. But I kid. Nobody make that comment because Bruno Damiani had a fantastic game last night. And José said it many times. He's sung his praises many times on this podcast. I've done it too. And yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do tonight is sing the praises of Bruno Damiani. But José, before we get into all of that, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I got to travel near the Hershey area today with my son Benicio to go watch my cousin's kid play football, American football. So it was fun to see family, be around them, support as best as I could. But excited to be home. Holiday weekend. Happy Labor Day to anybody and everybody who gets the day off tomorrow. And what a weekend, man. Like an unbelievable match. I said it yesterday. I let it rip with that beer right on screen. But what a belter of a game that was. If you did not enjoy that game, despite it being 1-0, like I can't guide you to many more MLS games that are that good. That was excellent soccer to watch.
Yeah, and even Bradley Cornell had said it in his opening statement, saying that, yeah, it's a great display for MLS, two different styles, and it was a very entertaining game. And so many storylines coming out of that game with Bruno Damiani, obviously scoring the lone goal. You have Andrew Rick in net once again for the Union, back-to-back clean sheets, and he was tested often last night in goal for the Union. I think the depth's a big storyline. You can talk about Alawata Makanya getting sent off for a second yellow card and just how the Union had to play the last 37 minutes without a time down a man. And, Bradley Cornell, I'm sure, changing his sub pattern because Makanya's second yellow card. And so you put Nathan Harrier as the center back next to Glesnes. You bring in Frankie Westfield to play as a right back. You have one less striker up top. So, I mean, there's many storylines coming from last night's game. And again, we'll dive all into that. We do have a jam-packed show, a whole bunch of topics to discuss tonight. A couple sound bites
what do you
we
think,
have lined up.
Todd?
Yeah.
Do you think this is going sub 110?
Yeah, 100%. Especially it's Labor Day weekend, so it's like I don't feel rushed to edit the podcast. So it's like I'll stay up as long as I need to talk Union soccer with you, to edit this podcast, making sure the lovely people have something to listen to on Labor Day weekend. So yeah, I got you, a man of the people. So as long as the comments are good and people are enjoying the show, then we'll keep going with it. I just saw somebody just left the live stream. They're like, no, we're not staying for an hour 10. So yeah, that's great. They heard an hour 10. I'm out. So checks out. But before we discuss the latest news around the Philadelphia Union, José, I want to know your opinion, because there's a reason why I'm asking you this question. You're going to know exactly what my answer is when I ask you this, why I'm mentioning it. And I'll pose this question to people in the chat too. In your opinion, José, what is the hardest sport to play? Maybe I'm throwing you on the spot. That's okay.
Yeah. I probably think it's either. Well, can I ask a clarifying question?
Yeah.
Be good at it, or literally just play?
Yeah, be good at
it. Likely a close call between tennis and golf.
Thank you. So that's what I was going to say. Golf. I hate that sport, dude. So I
Yeah,
had told Jose last night, and they listen to the
that's
podcast
right.
sometimes. My two friends, Jack and Garrett. Let's see if we can get one of them to comment on the live stream. Occasionally, they'll pop in and comment. But I went out golfing with them today. My God, dude, I hate that sport. I haven't played on an actual golf course in 2 years. I've been going to the driving range and everything. First thing I say to them is, this is totally different being on a golf course compared to a driving range. It's like, man, you feel good out there. You're driving the ball good. You're hitting your targets. You get out on the golf course. My God, I can't hit my driver to save my life. And it's like when I'm at the driving range, I'm hitting that between 240 to 260. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to crush it out here in the golf course. You get out to the golf course, not the case at all. I mean, I'm not even getting the ball in the air. It's just staying on the ground. It's going like 50 yards. I'm like, what is going on? I hate this freaking sport. But it is fun, right? Because you're out in the outdoors and you don't realize how much walking you're doing, even when you get a golf cart, because you're chasing your ball around. Or at least I'm chasing my ball around. You're looking for your ball and you're running into other people looking for the balls. I mean, it's so chaotic out on the golf course.
Did you walk the course or did you have a cart?
Yeah, we had a cart, but I mean, I was chasing my ball around so much, so I might as well have been on my feet and not had the cart. So, oh my God, dude.
My father-in-law is he's certainly not a cheap person, but his thing is, I will take you out to golf, but you have to walk the course. And we get the cart, like the little, like you put your clubs and like with the two wheels or whatever, the little cart thing for the clubs.
Oh, yeah.
But like we are walking the entire thing. And honestly, that's how he exercises from time to time. And frankly, like the times I've gone with him, I've absolutely loved it because we burn through maybe 2 to 3 cigars in 18 holes, right? Like we're just roaming around, walking, talking, that type of thing. So yeah, man, golf is, I think, an unbelievably frustrating sport. What it's the level to be good at it is so hard to achieve or attain versus, I think like many other sports, like I think you're more likely to get lucky in soccer, American football, even tennis, whatever. Once in a while you're going to hit something perfectly, but with golf it's like I think that the possibility of hitting something right is just so slim.
Yeah, I mean, it is insane, the torque and all the muscles that you're moving that you probably honestly don't really move that much. And it's like, God, why am I so stiff? Why am I so sore? And just everything in your hips and everything, and trying to put enough power on the ball and everything, getting on the green and trying to get loft and everything. And then just slicing it. Like, I used to be a slicer to the right. Now suddenly I'm just slicing to the left. I'm like, what is happening? This has never happened before.
Leftward sloping suddenly, Todd. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, golf is just so ridiculous. And then when you look in for like lessons and everything, holy crap, some of those lessons get expensive per hour and everything. But look, I do think once like COVID had happened back in 2020, people were bored out of the mind. Everybody goes out, gets golf clubs, and then they all go out to the golf course because they want to do something. And then they can justify these high prices for playing on the golf courses or for lessons and everything because everybody and their brother seems to have golf clubs now. And so, yeah, golf, it's so mental, man. And it's like you start trying to correct every little thing. And it's like when you're in your head, you're done. Valerie says boxing. Sexy Hoagie says boxing. Then she says ice hockey. Then she says figure skating. Valerie says golf. Not happy with that. Hoagie says she loves golf. Michael Wolfinger says cornhole. I would not expect somebody to say that. Mike Barrera chimes in, says we need a Union Friends Top Golf outing. Hoagie says you'll be better next time. She hates cornhole. Valerie says I'd rather go for a walk and kick a can down the road. Yeah, I mean, it is crazy. Golf, man. Golf is so crazy.
To your comment there, though, Todd, a little bit ago, don't you feel like with golf specifically, as you compensate or overcompensate for something you're doing wrong, you end up damaging something else? Like it to me, it's like, okay, I'm slicing everything leftward. Okay, I'm gonna pay attention to that, and then the next thing I know, it's like I'm doing something completely wrong, like it's somewhere else, right? It's just such a it is amazing. It's an amazing sport to master. And once you're really good at it and you play with people who are good at it, it just kind of blows your mind of like, how. My one cousin, Dylan, who I don't think you've had the pleasure to meet yet, but he I don't know how he's gotten so good at golf, but he can drop balls on command and wherever he wants. He's like, okay, 50 yards. All right, let me hit it, and gets it within like 5-10 feet, 5 to 3 feet of like the pin type of thing. Like he's that good. So it's amazing. In fact, one of my old coworkers at Mercersburg, and I swear that we can then start talking soccer 10 minutes into the podcast, but he actually went to Furman, golfed there, and then he was a pro for about a year and change, was just living off of tournament money, small tournament money, but enough that he was just, living off of it. And then he realized, I kind of want to have a better life than just, skating by with the local tournament money.
I mean, you're right, Jose. It's like once you master it and everything, and you feel comfortable with all your clubs and everything, then I'm sure it comes easy. I mean, it's so easy watching videos, and it's like, oh, I can do that. Like this makes a lot of sense. And next thing you know, I'm going to go out here and play golf, and I'm going to be just like the video I just watched. Not the case at all. But yeah, we're 11 minutes into the show, not talking soccer at all. So let's go ahead and change that. Talk about some of the union's latest news. I saw there's a comment that I do want to ask you, Jose. I guess both of us can answer this here, but we'll bring that up too. I didn't have it in my show notes, so I'm glad somebody's chiming in here, and we'll talk about that because I think it is some important news for Philadelphia Union fans or a former Philadelphia Union player. But without further ado, let's get straight into the news. All right, so the first bit of news I want to talk about is you reported this, I feel like 10 years ago, Jose. Isaiah LeFlore loaned to USL Championship side Detroit City. The Philadelphia Union finally announced it last week that they have loaned out Isaiah LeFlore, and this is the second Union player within, the last 2 weeks that has now been loaned out to the USL Championship. You had Oliver Zemla getting loaned out to North Carolina. Zemla did not look good last night for fans who aren't paying attention. Isaiah LeFlore makes his debut last night for Detroit City. And so I don't have too much to add about Isaiah LeFlore. I saw people had commented last night with Mike Barrera, yourself, me, and Jillian Almany on AAT Sports Across the Pitch saying, the Union now gave up their backup left back. This is a big deal. This is a huge issue. But let's be honest, right? Kai Wagner never takes a break. Kai Wagner, it seems like, never misses games. And if there is a backup to Kai Wagner, it's Nathan Harriel. And if it's not Nathan Harriel, then I would imagine it's Frankie Westfield. So Isaiah LeFlore, if we're being honest, was never going to get playing time with the first team, even though, quote unquote, he is the backup to Kai since he is a natural left back. But Isaiah made 19 appearances this season with Union 2 and MLS Next Pro. Scored 1 goal, had 3 assists in 19 appearances, started all 19 games, had yet to feature for the Philadelphia Union. We know last year he missed the whole of last season because he was out with a ACL tear, recovering from that. But yeah, it is nice, Jose, that the Union finally announced something, like I said, that it seems like you reported 10 years ago.
Yeah, and with those things, a lot of it has to do, likely, I don't know exactly, but with having to have paperwork clear with USL as a federation. I think whenever I see a USL deal, it's pending federation approval or whatever. But yeah, an interesting move. I think the uprise or the growth and I believe it's Jordan Griffin out of MLS Next Pro Union 2 has really maybe guided this decision. And frankly, you sort of stated it best. I personally, and this is maybe on the opinion side, never really thought that he was going to come in. It felt like a Nate Harriel light type of signing, and it was, I actually remember I was on my way to Arizona, and I remember texting you guys on the plane thing saying, hey, this guy's coming in. And then the announcement came out, and then I lost Wi-Fi as I was getting in the air or whatever 2 years ago or however long it was. But deadline move, I had reported it, and then I was kind of told about, hey, he's continuing to show up to practice. I'm not sure if the paperwork went through. It's like, oh, okay, well, let me check in, and did a little bit of checking around with sources. And I guess it was just, same thing with Oliver Semla in terms of practicing in market and waiting for maybe the move to be clear, and then making his way to Detroit, to which he debuted last night, 73rd minute. not much to do outside of like a quick little brawl. I posted the clip online where it was just an interesting, I don't even know if it was a foul. I think he got a yellow card for more of the reaction of the player that fell or flopped, some would say. So not much to add to this one. I wish him the best of luck. If he isn't to come back to the Union, my guess is that he isn't going to come back to the Union. I don't know. No one has told me that he is or isn't, because his contract next year is an option, if I recall.
Yep, I was about to pull it up. You're right.
Yeah, so an option for him, and who knows? This is maybe likely just the start of the cleanup of this first team roster. Now that it's going to be better managed by Bradley Cornell than having Jim Curtin makes the decisions. And I scratch my forehead because Sal Olivas just makes me want to do that quite a bit as I have the Union 2 game next to me watching it. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything you want to add about LeFlore. And I did make a note in asking around and sharing the clip of that little tussle that he got in last night. One person told me that is shocking because he's an unbelievably kind and polite person that he got himself in that situation. But I guess the heat of the game just sort of brings it out of the players. So for what it's worth.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go ahead and turn to another player who I'm sure neither one of us are going to have too much to say about. That is the Union make it official, signing former Charlotte FC goalkeeper George Marks for the rest of the season. Club still hasn't announced the injury to Piers Holbrook, but when you're bringing in a backup goalkeeper for your backup goalkeeper, you assume that Pierce is done for the year, especially since the Union announced that George Marks is going to be signed for the rest of the season. I do believe he's starting tonight for Union too, if I'm not correct. Right, Jose?
Yep. The score is 2-1. I watched the goal that Cincinnati scored, and not much he could really do on that one. So I don't fault him for it, but score sheets don't remember that, don't recognize context. So happy to have him. I spoke with Dylan Lane of College Soccer Match Day, our good friend Mark Halkenberg's co-host over there, and they spoke very highly of Marks. And Bradley Cornell went ahead and said exactly what Dylan said when I chatted with him, the character, etc. So interesting. I think you're right. I don't know that they publicly have to announce Pierce's injury the way that they did Jan Glavinović's, since he's technically not a first team player.
Yeah, you're probably right. I wonder, but though, would MLS, would Union 2? I guess Union 2 can announce it, but yeah, I don't even know if they're going to do it, right? I mean,
they don't really have a reason to. I don't believe that they have a reason to. I can't remember, and all the MLS Next Pro heads who are on here would love to hear, but I see that. Yeah. Maybe Jillian's breaking news. I don't know. Take it up with Jillian. I don't know. No comment on my end.
No comment. The comment for people who aren't listening or watching the podcast, Cole says Jillian's article said torn meniscus. So, yeah, we need Jillian here, right, to confirm or deny. I guess if she's putting in her article, right, it is breaking news. So, Jillian's not going to go ahead and say something without just saying something. So, officially, the club haven't announced an injury. That's the point that we're making here. But George Marks, 10 appearances.
Reports.
Yeah, exactly. No, can confirm or deny from José Núñez, though. But George Marks, 10 appearances with Charlotte, made his debut back in 2022 in the U.S. Open Cup, had 16 goals against. He had a few clean sheets, if I'm not mistaken, Jose, with Charlotte. I'm not looking at it, but regardless, I mean, nobody's expecting George Marks to play for the first team this season. And that's okay, right? Nobody's saying he needs to, but he's a backup just in case anything happens. Because, like Bradley Cornell told us last week when Brooks got hurt, the emergency goalkeeper was Nathan Harriel. So you don't want to run into a situation like that again. Again, highly recommend everybody listening to your interview with Dylan Lane. I'll leave a link in the show description for you guys to go ahead and listen to that afterwards if you want to hear more on Dylan Lane, José Núñez talking George Marks. But let's go ahead and talk about news. You mentioned Sal Olivas. Maybe this is what we should have went into besides George Marks, but it's just the way that that I had it lined up here, Jose. So we know Nathan Harriel called up for the United States men's national team for friendlies against South Korea on September 6th and Japan September 9th. Danley John Jock World Cup qualifiers with Haiti, Honduras September 5th and September 9th against Costa Rica. Ty Baribo World Cup qualifiers with Israel. They play Moldova September 5th and Italy September 8th. And then you have Frankie Westfield gets called up with U20s. Neil Pierre gets called up with the U19s along with Sal Olivas, with Eddie Davis, Andrew Rick. Am I missing another U20 there? I'm not sure. I'm waiting for it to scroll at the bottom. And then you have Kevin Sullivan gets called up to the U17s for the US. So, yeah, a lot of union players going away. I know Malik Jakupovic got called up. Caden Moore, I believe, also got called up with U.S. national team or youth team. Sorry, yeah, youth national team. You also saw Kellen LeBlanc get called up, if I'm not mistaken, too. And maybe I'm missing another Union 2 player in that list. But yeah, a lot of union representation during this international break. And I saw a lot of confusion on social media where people are like, oh, the union players are going to miss the Vancouver game because of international duty. I just want to go ahead, put it out on the record. That is not going to be the case. That is not going to be the case. The players will be back for their Vancouver Whitecaps game. Now, will they be fully healthy? Will they start? That's up to Bradley Cornell to decide. I mean, I had mentioned some of these guys going away very, very far. We know Ty Baribo going away to Israel, going away to Moldova. So, I mean, I do believe that it's Ty Baribo traveling the farthest. And then we all know that the traveling that Daniel Gosling had to do when he was with the team going with Hungary. And so it is nice to see all these players get called up. For me, I think the biggest surprise is seeing Nathan Harriel get called up once again to the national team. And I do wonder if he's going to feature this time for the U.S. Obviously, Poch feels comfortable calling him in. He sees something in him. And will he finally be given a chance? This turnaround against South Korea or Japan, we shall see. But I do think in Nathan Harriel's case, a big thing he has going for him is he can play multiple positions in that back line. And I think that is probably something that Pochettino values, but maybe not enough to start him in one of these games.
Yeah, sorry, I was just checking my phone. Something came through. I was clarifying the Piers Holbrook stuff here for a second. Yeah, I hope that all the players get an opportunity to get some time. Nate especially. If goodness, how great it would be for the union to send a player to the World Cup next summer, right? Never mind multiple with the different circumstances, and enter the fold. Milan Iloski potentially going to Macedonia, with Macedonia to the World Cup. Like that's incredible too, of a sort of random development that happened over this past week or so. But with these international breaks and international call-ups, I think they're incredibly important points of pride, etc. But I also worry that one Danley injury just can derail a lot of what's maybe the union have planned, and certainly the fandom is expecting. Never mind Ty Baribo breaking his leg or something like that, right? Like what a disaster that would be. So I wish them the best. I wish them luck, and I hope that as many of them as possible win and continue to advance their nations closer and closer to qualifying. One thing of note, this is the very first time in a little while that Andre Blake has not been part of Jamaica's national team, meaning that if you can sort of read between the lines, that injury is probably worse than certainly an international break's worth of time. So we'll see. Is he ready for Vancouver? Is he ready for Nashville? But I don't really know that that's a question that many are worried about, especially after this past week with Andrew Rick. So again, just something to note with a usual international player suddenly staying home.
Yeah, exactly. But if I'm not mistaken, Bradley Cornell had said on Thursday that Andre Blake had returned to training with the first team. I forget the exact quote. Does that sound right, Jose?
I thought he mentioned something.
Maybe not training.
He finally got out on the field since the injury. So that was the very first day that he finally put. sounds like it was the very first day that he finally put on cleats and gloves to go do something on the field. It may not even mean that he wore gloves. It may mean that he's just finally jogging or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I agree with you there, Jose, and don't want to read too much into it, but you can kind of read between the lines. But we do have to get to the last thing that I want to talk about because I see Finn McManus commented first on his Twitter account, said, "What can Leicester fans expect from Julián Carranza?" Then he chimes into his YouTube account and says, "What can Leicester fans expect from Julián Carranza?" So yeah, I mean, he obviously wants to hear thoughts on Julián Carranza. This was reported by CL Merlot, who's fantastic for South American soccer reporting. He reports that it's Leicester, right? It's Leicester City. Why'd I say it's Leicester City. I'm gonna get slaughtered by
Gal already got you.
The English. Yeah, Leicester City. My bad. Leicester City. CL Merlot is reporting that Julián Carranza is on his way there from Feyenoord to go on loan. It's an option to buy too after the end of the loan. And so I saw a lot of people too, a lot of Leicester fans on Twitter asking you, Jose, what can they expect from Julián Carranza? Well, I mean, just looking at the numbers, 94 appearances, 43 goals, 20 assists with the Union. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. But I'll let you take this, Jose. You've spoken to Julián a couple of times, as have I, but I feel like just because, and it's the same thing I feel with like any of these South American players, they feel more comfortable, in my opinion, just from what I've noticed in the locker room and everything. They feel more comfortable speaking in their native language than they do having to speak in English and everything, even though Carranza's really, 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 really good at speaking English. But it does seem like you get better interactions with the Spanish-speaking players than the non-Spanish-speaking players. So go ahead for all the Leicester fans that want an update on Julián Carranza.
I mean, the numbers speak for themselves, right? At least the numbers that are recorded and people focus on for strikers speak a lot about what he brings. But I think it's more about, and you would agree with this, at least I believe, Todd. It's what doesn't really show up on a score sheet on a daily match log, per se, and what his work rate is defensively, being the tip of the spear that sort of presses very, very hard, very, very smartly to push opponents to specific angles or specific sides of the field and either force a long ball or force a mistake that leads to a throw in high up on the field. And I honestly, someone mentioned to me, it's like something that really resonated with me. It's maybe an Argentina Jamie Vardy in a way, in terms of like the work rate and in terms of how smart he is off the ball to find himself in good spots, can take players one-on-one, can certainly finish. We've seen him finish some incredible goals over the years. So maybe the comparison's not the best one, but nonetheless a good one or one that works. But certainly I'm more intrigued on what the sale price is on that option. I can't recall if that was even reported, but my goodness, I can't imagine that it's very high, and it continues to sort of show maybe going to Feyenoord was not the best, and he should have gone to Werder Bremen, I think was one of the options. There was another English championship team that was after him. I can't remember who was it?
Ipswich.
Yeah, maybe that was the better option. Unfortunately, injuries plagued Julián out in Feyenoord, but you can't blame the guy for taking a stab at international soccer at the highest level. And my goodness, what a goal he scored against AC Milan last year, right in the Champions League. So that's a once in a lifetime type of player. But I recommend Finn McManus. If you just go on my Twitter profile or any of ours who are in the press and do a cursory Julián Carranza, you'll find clips or something that we've shared, and you'll see the type of work rate that he has and just how smart he is and how magical he was in that 2022 season of just scoring some unbelievable goals and just being that probably the lead spear in the top three that was, Carranza, Ua, and Gastag that year.
Yeah, I mean, they clicked extremely fast. And All three of those guys were a big part of the Union's success going all the way to MLS Cup. And there's nothing else that I would add for Julián Carranza. I mean, you hit the nail right on the head, Jose. Maybe the only thing I would add is he's a great locker room presence. And so I have no doubt that he'll fit in with the players at Leicester. And that's something that they do here in Philadelphia. They always go ahead and sign players that are good for the locker room. And so if you've had any questions about, is he going to fit into the locker room? There should be no questions about that. I see your other comment. Finn says, how is he within his positioning in the box and aerial ability? Yeah, I mean, Carranza, he makes a lot of late runs into the box. He's finding the air for the Union. Didn't score a ton of header goals for the Union, but yeah, he's more of a late runner into the box. He can play as a second striker. When he was with Philadelphia, the Union play a two-striker set, and so usually his striker partner, Mikhail Uhr, would make runs in out into the channels, make runs in behind the defense, where Carranza's making those late runs into the box. Kind of like his former teammate in Daniel Gazdag, very, very similar positioning, dropping deep to get onto the ball, and then they make those late crashing runs into the box. We've seen times, though, where he can be a poacher inside the 6-yard box for the Union. So he does have an eye for goal. He does do well to draw off of the defenders, to just be in the right place in the right time. Positioning never was a question in Philadelphia. Didn't watch a ton of Feyenoord games, and I know if you're just looking at the stats, the 30 appearances, 5 goals and 1 assist, and he only played just over 1,000 minutes, which isn't a ton. And as Jose said, I don't blame him. I mean, going to a club that played Champions League soccer, that's appealing. Like, all players want to play in the Champions League. And so that's pretty much all I have to say on Julián Carranza. I think Jose probably feels the same way as well. But I agree. Just type in Julián Carranza or Jose's Twitter page, my Twitter page. It's probably on @FreeKickPod, and you'll see so many highlights of goals that Carranza has scored between just Jose and I both reposting them. So, I mean, Julián Carranza, I think he'll do well in the championship, and we'll see if Leicester wind up picking up the option. But look, I have no doubts that he'll do well in England. And like Jose said, maybe Feyenoord was too big of a jump for Julián at the time. But I know they did have Santi Jimenez too there, who was getting a lot of playing time before he left to go to AC Milan. So he was a little bit stuck behind Santi before he went to AC Milan. But Jose, let's go ahead and talk about why everybody's here, and that is FC Cincinnati versus Philadelphia Union. We all know the Union win that game 1-0. Bruno Damiani scores in the 49th minute. Again, Jose, I do have a specific section where I want to talk about Damiani, so we don't have to talk about him too much, the goal that he scored. But your overall thoughts from this game, a gutsy performance for the Union. And as people can see in the show description, complete the league double over Cincinnati for the first time since 2021, which is kind of insane to think about if we're being honest.
Oh shit, that's right, because they played them in between Champions Cup, CONCACAF Champions Cup matches. That's in, gosh, it is the first time in a while. I mean, I've been sort of percolating this idea to finally write something beyond the random report or notable news that I share on Substack, because this game, the Cincinnati game, really inspired me in a way. It was one of those games where even though it was 0-0 and maybe not much was happening, even myself standing, because I don't sit down during some of these games, just standing by my kitchen island with the tablet on the Spanish feed and then the English feed for my one guest and my wife who were watching on the bigger TV, it inspired me, because there was just so much emotion, even for my dumb kitchen, right? In terms of what was at stake, how well they responded, how well they started, how well did the Union carry it out, how Cincinnati, even though they were at TQL, looked like deer staring at headlights with not being really able to figure out what's going on here. Seeing players step up until maybe pressure got to them with someone like Olwethu per se. We're not going to talk about it right now since you have a segment, but Damiani, what he did in that moment was incredible. And then ultimately, I think one piece that's going overlooked, and maybe I need to shed some more light on, is how there is zero discussion or very little discussion for Bradley Cornell to be considered Coach of the Year this year. And sure, Mike Ibarra is basically running an under-23 program out in San Diego, having an incredible year, first team to clinch this year, et cetera. Incredible accolades. But what Bradley Cornell has done to turn this team around from last year's disaster to this year being the first team in the East and probably a far more competitive side of the league than the West has been all year over the past couple of years is really impressive. So yeah, I just have so much in my head thinking about this game, and it's all positive and just exciting. Even though it's only a 1-0 game, you would think that I'd have 2,000 words to write about the Chicago game, right? But no, the reality was that like I actually didn't have too many thoughts after that game. But this one, there's just so much swirling in my head and moments even throughout that match that I already have in my head of clips that would visually show you what I'm thinking and feeling of the effort that players sliding to try to get every single ball, or even within the first 3 minutes, you just knew what type of game it was going to be when Damiani and Matt Miazga got together on the sideline and they're just shoving each other, just walking past one another. So it was one that I'll remember for a while. It was very, very good.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick though, Jakob Glesnes, I saw people asking after the press conference for an update. Bradley Cornell did give not really an update, said that Glesnes was with the doctors while he was speaking to the media. But he said, he was in the locker room celebrating with the teammates, and do with that as you will, basically. So yeah, we'll see exactly how Jakob Glesnes progresses. Again, I mean, it's a good thing the Union have 2 weeks off before they go out to Vancouver. So hopefully he'll be fine. But switching it to his center back partner, Dan says Aluwatu simply has to play a bit smarter and stay away from that second yellow. And I know we talked a lot last night, Jose, on Across the Pitch with Mike, Jillian, and you guys. And so just because I want people to go ahead and listen to that episode, I don't want to spend too much time talking about Macania, but it is something that we talked about on that show last night, saying that the yellow card was dumb. The second yellow card that Macania picks up is so dumb. You have Evander running towards the sideline. Why would you foul him there in that instance? Just so dumb. And I believe I saw a comment by Cole either on last night's show or on Twitter or something. But within the last 12 months, it's now been 3 red cards for Macania. And so you see a lot of high performances. And I think Macania played very well up to that second yellow card last night. But then you do get moments of a little bit of chaos. It is Macania who gives the ball away to Buka, and then he eventually fouls Evander when that ball gets played for it. Yes, mistake there by Macania, but more times than not, Macania has been really, really solid this season. I know this is something you've been harping about on Twitter, Jose. Surprised that Macania is not called up to the South African national team just because of how strong he's played for the Union this season. And when you look, no offense to those players, some of these players getting called up, a lot of them still playing in South Africa, which no disrespect to that league, but I would imagine that MLS is rated a lot higher, and that's partially why Macania left. What was the club he was with? I forget the name. It's right on the top.
I was going to say Stanley Bosch or Bosch something.
Yeah, begins with an S. I forget. I feel so bad, especially because of people who I know potentially listen to the show. But one of the top teams in Africa, South Africa, and he obviously leaves, comes to the Union, doesn't play for like 2 years, finally gets a chance under Bradley Cornell. But I mean, he's got to be smarter in that instance, right, Jose? No need to pick up that silly yellow card.
No, and he shouldn't. And we spoke about it last night where there's in no world is Evander outrunning Macania, especially the speed that we've watched him display, not just this year, but even last year. Stellenbosch, thank you, Valerie. But it was just that it's one of those moments that maybe is what sets him back from getting those calls to the international team. And, no disrespect to the Orlando Pirates and some of these other local clubs. Stellenbosch sent like 2 or 3 players, if I recall, to the national team for this upcoming window. have a hard time believing that the South African League is higher level than MLS. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, goodness, no disrespect. It's just genuinely where maybe I'm placing MLS, and it might be too high. But yeah, that's one of those moments where Makanda just needs to realize, don't foul. Just go, let him go to a negative ball, or goodness, if he wants to try to earn a throw in from you, what a problem, right? Because you get to reset the defense, and more likely than not, he's going to go negative on the throw in anyway. So yeah, I mean, we don't have to rehash that too much. It was one of those moments where I'm not a professional footballer, and I could have told you 7 different things I would have done that don't implicate me getting a yellow card for the second time in the match.
Yeah, exactly. Just because, all right, I guess time doesn't matter for us, but I was going to ask you before we go into Bruno. Last night on the English broadcast for Apple, uh, Cal Williams and Ian Paul Joy were saying that last night was a must-win game for both teams. Valerie chimes in right here and says that it was a statement game last night for the Union. I agree 100%, but would you go as far as saying that last night was a must-win game for the Union, Jose?
I put the Nashville semifinal as a higher must-win game than last night, to be completely honest with you. And obviously, the stakes are very different in terms of league play versus tournament play. Never mind a semifinal. But I think there's still a ton of surprises between now and the end of the season. Never mind playoffs, right? Or end of the regular seasons and playoffs, where I can see the Union stuttering 1 or 2 games here and needing help from away, but. It also showed, I don't know if it's a must win. Must win is the right adjective. I think I would have just, I hate to continue to use the term statement, but to go on the road to TQL against Cincinnati with the players that Cincinnati just brought in and what they've had, and do it with a man down for over 30 minutes, I think that's just unbelievable. That is just an unbelievable feat of that team. And just some of the quotes coming out of Pat Noonan and Evander and others were just, I don't know how you don't print those. It was incredible to hear just how defeated the mighty Cincinnati suddenly have become.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's been since 2021 that Cincinnati haven't beat the Union in one of the 2 games. And that's a testament to Bradley Cornell, the way that he had his Philadelphia Union team ready to play against a very, very tough Cincinnati. And I thought going into this game that it was at least a point the Union needed, at least a point. They need to create separation between themselves and Cincinnati. And they do it with all 3 points. Union at 57 points, Cincinnati with 52 points. San Diego, I know, plays LAFC later tonight. They are at 53 points, but they have a game in hand. If they beat LAFC, then they would still be a point behind the Union for the Supporters Shield standings. Union improved to 17-6-6 record, and just really, really, really great performance by the Union last night. And I mean, so many players last night who had great games, and we had talked about just all the many storylines from last night's game, but maybe none bigger than Bruno Damiani scoring the lone goal, 49th minute, a header. Really good footwork by Milan Alaski to cross that in with his left. And then the header that Bruno scores, fair play to him, right? He's towards the near post, redirects it back to the far post, and it's a great header by Damiani. We know he's a player that's strong in the air, and we finally see him score a headed goal, and it's a really, really great headed goal. But coming into this match, he had not scored in 7 games. Breaks that curse and gets a goal. 5 games remaining, and my thought, my first reaction was, well, this is a big game. Everybody knows this is a big game coming in, and maybe Bruno Damiani is a big player, a big game player. Can he be that big game player? Because you've seen the comments, Jose, online. I've seen the comments online. The listeners have seen the comments online. There might even be people listening to this podcast that complain about the lack of goals that Damiani scored this season. I can guarantee you people are not going to complain about the lack of goals that Damiani scored this season if he continues to score in big moments like that, especially when the playoffs come around. If he's scoring goals in vital moments like he did against Cincinnati, you won't hear anybody saying, oh, he only has 5 goals on the season. Fantastic performance by Bruno Damiani last night. And yeah, it's not been the easiest season for Damiani, but The one thing that's promising, you talked about it before on the show, his XG, 10.3 now, expected goals. And that tells me right that he's getting in the right position. We talk about the saves that some of these goalkeepers make against Damiani. And so it's not a lack of, okay, he's just not getting the chances. He is. He's putting those chances on target. It's just good goalkeeping. He's the highest shots on target percentage amongst players on the Union with 10 or more shots, 42.9%. Might as well say 43% of his shots are on target. That's really, really good. You want players putting shots on target. And so Damiani gets himself in those positions and is able to put the ball in frame. Doesn't always wind up going in the back of the net because of good goalkeeping. But yes, that's exactly what you want to see from your target striker, getting in those positions. He's second behind Milan Alaski for shots per 90 minutes, 1.4. So yes, Damiani creates a lot of chances or has a lot of shots per game and everything. But the good thing is he's not being wasteful in those shots. And so, again, just getting himself in those good positions, and he gets himself in a good position last night. Jose only has one shot, and it's the goal. And so that's exactly what you want to see from your target striker in Bruno Damiani.
And that's just it. I mean, that goal, Todd, I was standing here on my tablet thinking, how do I write about this? And granted, it was 2 sentences that I put together, but I was trying to describe what he did. And I think ultimately I came up with something else, but ultimately in my brain, what I really was trying to say is he Cirque du Soleil the shit out of that goal, right? The way that he just was going one way, got in front of Matt Miazga, Chelsea's former Matt Miazga, believe it or not, right? And cleared a header past them at an angle, gracing it while he was meeting it. And I don't even know how to describe it, right? The way that he just contorted his body to just make it go that way. And that's the X factor that I think Damiani brings. And he's not the greatest finisher yet, but finishes like last night are the ones that show you why the Union went to pay what they paid for him in terms of being the highest transfer by Philadelphia. Again, not a mighty high number, all things considered, but an unbelievable go that shows you that he's just worth every penny. Never mind what you and I have gone back and forth, what people accuse me for being a bootlicker for the Union and certainly the Damiani camp. But the reality is he does so much off the ball. You and I have heard it from people in and around the club. We've heard it from Bradley Carnell. We've heard it from, I know I've heard it from other players myself too, that, Bruno works so fucking hard, like unbelievably hard, match in and match out. And you and I gushed about it yesterday, but what a shame that he had that yellow card, because I think he would have been a treat to go ahead.
No yellow card for Damiani.
He didn't have, I could have sworn he had a yellow card.
No yellow card.
Then I don't understand the substitution outside of fitness or I guess being tired, right?
Yeah, that's the only thing that I can think of. And maybe that's on us. Maybe we should have asked Bradley Cornell last night what was up with the substitution, because to me it didn't make a lot of sense. You're bringing off a target striker for a player that's not so good at being a target striker. He isn't a target striker at all. Mikael Uwe, the player we're talking about. So yeah, maybe that's on us for not asking Bradley Cornell about that.
Yeah. Holy smokes. Okay. Well, yes, you're right. It brings up a ton more questions, but it really doesn't matter considering the fact that they won, right? That's another one of those decisions where you wonder, like, in a different alternate universe, Bradley Cornell looks like a fool for making that type of substitution. But what a treat Damiani would have been there, sort of forcing the game. And way more fun had Macania been on the field as well and maybe had some more of that, bumping and hitting one another there towards the end. And I know that not many are very happy about the refereeing. Certainly folks that listen to this podcast of yours, Todd, are not very happy with the refereeing across the league. But I actually appreciated how physical the game was. And in a way, you saying that Damiani didn't have a yellow is shocking to me, considering what he was put through and he was putting other players through. So not much else to add to Damiani. I think a lot of people forget his shortcomings throughout the season. If he scores one of these, say in December when it really, really matters, or late October when there's a trophy to be held up over their heads with the U.S. Open Cup.
Yeah, only 30 fouls last night called, which doesn't seem like a lot in all honesty. But Bradley Cornell was asked about Bruno Damiani's performance, about the goal that he scored last night. And you had mentioned it. Bradley Cornell has told us in the past, starts off saying that he does so much well off the ball. It's the little moments.
If you see the way we play, if you see the way he opens up space for others, if you see the way he battles in and around and occupies three center backs at the same time, it's incredible. And he doesn't get enough credit for that. But it's sort of like the cherry on the cake now that he gets to get the goal. I thought Milan had a little, a real good little crafty, shifty move there in the box to get it on his left foot and then chip it the way he did. So, we spoke about low and hard crosses, but, we'll take that one as well. I'm just happy for Bruno. Bruno puts in a ton of work, but I thought this was a real collective performance tonight.
So Valerie must have seen my show notes or something, because she brings up exactly what I wanted to say. She says he gets beat up every game, and that's exactly it, right? That's the little things that Bradley Cornell is talking about. He has 66 fouls drawn against. That's the most on the Union, but it's the third most in MLS. He's a player that draws so many fouls, and I don't know if Finn's still here. It's exactly what Julián Carranza did when he was in Philadelphia. And then on the flip side of that, Bruno Damiani has the most fouls committed on the Union with 58, which is exactly what Julián Carranza would also do. You want physical strikers, and Bruno and Julián Carranza, totally different strikers, but I know the body types are completely different and everything, different builds and whatnot. But that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see your center backs being physical with strikers. You want to see your strikers be physical with the center backs. And Bruno Damiani draws a ton of fouls, third most in MLS with 66. 58 fouls that he's committed. He brings a physical presence that the Union just simply don't have in anybody else in the striker department, Jose. And because you go out there and you make the game physical, you get those center backs off the game, and maybe that's what happened with the goal that he scored off of Matt Miazga. Maybe Miazga came off of his game because of it. And if we rewind that goal, and this is why I hate teams playing out of the back, it is so dumb, because you have Celentano passing into Miazga. Miazga just plays a stupid ball straight up the middle, gets picked up by Jakob Glesnes. Glesnes goes into Alaski or Quinn Sullivan, I forget what player I have to look at it. Alaski eventually gets on the ball and then crosses it to Bruno Damiani. That's what happens when you play out of the back. You get punished occasionally. But yes, it's always physical from Bruno Damiani. As Valerie says, he gets beat up every single game. You guys just heard Bradley Cornell talk about it. He does the little things well. It's the things that this team values. And yeah, he may not be scoring the goals, but the Union don't have a striker on this roster that's as compatible to Bruno Damiani. There just simply isn't. And he started 19 of his 28 appearances this season for the Union. And just because he's not scoring goals as some in this fan base want, doesn't mean that he's not valued by his teammates at Bradley Cornell. He absolutely is. And you heard Bradley Cornell talk about how excited he was for Bruno to finally get that goal. There's been 2 other times this season where Bruno's had stretches of 8 games and 9 games where he's went without a goal. This one was 7 games, and hopefully this is what's going to kickstart him in bigger moments. 5 games remaining, then the playoffs come up, and that's now his second game-winning goal this season. Did it against Chicago from a penalty spot, and this was his first from open play against Cincinnati. So really good stuff from Bruno Damiani. Nothing else I have to add, and I'm not sure about you, Jose, but I know you did say a lot about Bruno.
No, nothing to add. I'm honestly thrilled for him. I selfishly love and appreciate seeing South Americans thrive on this team. The Union have a relatively good history with South Americans that go on and thrive and do bigger and better things. So it makes you wonder, Bruno continues his pace and work rate, etc. Maybe he backs some more goals. And, I always think about it, and I know fans don't like to hear it, but what is the next step after the Union for some of these players? And I wonder what is in store for Bruno in the future after he does great things with Philadelphia, right? We saw Jose Martinez go from the Union to Corinthians, which is unbelievable, and Julián Carranza to Feyenoord, and now Leicester. Like it's good to see these types of jumps and continue to build the brand and the knowledge of Philadelphia Union to the world. So happy for him. And again, If he becomes a ghost against Vancouver, but he scores against Nashville and then whoever they have to face against in the US Open Cup final, and he doesn't score more than once in the entire run-up to MLS Cup final, and he scores one in the final, zero complaints from people. There should be no complaints if he scores 3 goals the rest of the season and during those 3 matches.
I agree with you, Jose. But staying with the positivity is what we saw from the Union last night defensively. And honestly, I kind of feel bad that I didn't know this stat. I saw it on the Apple broadcast, and then it posed me to ask Bradley Cornell about it. But the Union, yeah, we all know that they're the best defensive team in MLS, conceding the league's fewest 26 goals. But the one thing that they showed up on the Apple broadcast towards the end of the game was, of those 26 goals, only 11 of them have been conceded on the road. So you give up more goals at Subaru Park than you do on the road, where you expect teams to maybe give up a little bit more goals. To only give up 11 goals is insane, Jose. And we saw it last night against Cincinnati, a front 3 of Evander Denke and Brenner. I mean, that's on paper, that's as good of a front 3 as any team could have. And to see the Union blank them, to shut them out, to keep them off the scoreboard. And I know a big part of that was Andrew Rick. We're talking about Andrew here specifically because Andrew Rick once again had a really, really big game for the Union. But defensively, that Union backline was solid. And we talked about it with McConaughey getting that second yellow card. And so you put Nathan Harriel next to Jakob Glesnes as the other center back. You bring Frankie Westfield on. Kai Wagner, in my opinion, probably had his best game defensively for the Union last night. Wasn't going as forward as he normally does. And look, when Kai's not expecting, his teammate to cover for him, when he's not jogging back, he shows that he can be a pretty good 1v1 defender. And he did well multiple times last night for the Union. You have that flop towards the end of the game by Matt Miazga going 1v1 against Kai Wagner. And I'm like, come on, dude, you're a center back. Like, why are you flopping on a fullback? Like, get up, dude. I mean, that is so embarrassing. So embarrassing.
And he's gigantic too.
Gigantic. Yeah, exactly. It's like, what are you doing? I mean, just a joke, dude. But defensively, this team's special, Jose. 11 clean sheets on the year, tied for the most in MLS with Vancouver. Of those 11 clean sheets, 5 of them have come on the road. It's now back-to-back clean sheets for the Union for the first time since 419 and 426 against Atlanta United and DC United. Both of those were home matches for the Union. But when you look at the Union, the last 5 away games, the Union have conceded only 4 goals, and 2 of those were penalties against Nashville and Houston. And so only 2 goals in your last 5 road games from open play. Yeah, this team, assuming they continue to stay in first or eventually have to go on the road in the best of 3 series. And if teams have to come to Subaru Park, that's great. But if the Union don't wind up winning the Supporters Shield standings and they have to go on the road for the playoffs, you feel confident just because of how strong they are. 11 goals conceded on the road this season. I mean, that kind of seems historical. Maybe that's a project for myself and Kyle Almany to go and check to see what is the fewest amount of goals a team's conceded on the road in the regular season. Because 11, that is shockingly low, Jose.
That is shockingly low. I wonder if it has to do with the Union maybe feeling like they can open up more at home than they can on the road, right? Feeling like they can open a little bit more, play a little bit more free flowing than they do on the road typically. But I honestly, when I think about the way that they play, I maybe don't sense too much of a difference. They always go pedal to the metal, we're going to just run at you the entire time type of thing, type of play style. But was when you asked, I was kind of was shocked myself. Is really, I don't often question your stats, Todd, because you do your research, right? But when you said it, I kind of thought that he miss a digit here, that he not add something right, like that he punched the wrong number on his phone's calculator. But it's pretty telling of just how night and day this team is compared to last year in terms of defensiveness, right? And what they can do to avoid these situations. And a lot of it maybe has to do with who is now the number 2 and potentially competing for the number 1 job next year as we segue to that topic here in a minute. But I think it sets them up for potentially a very, very very fruitful business end of the season going into MLS Cup playoffs, as well as hopefully for Bradley Cornell and his men, a nice US Open Cup run here in the next few matches.
Yeah, so Bradley Cornell last night spoke about what's been the key for the Union defensively, not only just last night, shutting out Evander Danke and Brenner, but overall, 11 goals. I mean, I've repeated it multiple times on the show. I mean, still, I can't get over that number. Only 11 goals. It's insane. So this is what Bradley Cornell had to say. What's been the key to the Union's success this season on the road?
Yeah, just bravery. We don't change our game model when we play at home and away. We play to win games, and sometimes it goes in our favor and sometimes it doesn't. But I want the guys to make sure they have the ticket of freedom from me to go and defend forwards, to play brave, to do all the things in our philosophy and our principles, and just trust your teammates got your back. And I think there's been a lot of trust displayed over the course of the season, and then the away results will then start taking care of itself. So to be a winning team, you need to defend well away from home, and we've seen the environment we're in tonight, and to show that, to prove it. I don't think this team needs to prove that they're a good team anymore. I think we can see that, and now we just have to keep pushing ourselves, motivating ourselves, and finish off strong.
Yeah, Bradley's right. I mean, this is a very, very good team, and it's in one part, if not better than the 2022 team. Even if this 2025 team doesn't get to MLS Cup final like they did in 2022, this is a historically good team. Maybe they're not scoring the goals as much as they did, but defensively, they're just as good, if not better than they were in 2022, even if the numbers don't totally show that. But I think for me, the biggest quote from Bradley Cornell, he said, "We don't change our game model when we play at home or away. We play to win games. Sometimes it goes in our favor and sometimes it doesn't." And this is not a knock on Jim Curtin, but that wasn't always the case under Jim Curtin. You would see the Union sit back and then try to hit on the counterattack. But that wasn't the case last night for the Union. The Union took the game to Cincinnati. They absolutely took the game to Cincinnati. And prior to Macanio's yellow card, the Union were out shooting Cincinnati 11-5. Like we mentioned, the whole back line, super strong defensively. You had Nathan Harriel with a goal line clearance off of the Evander corner kick. I would argue, like I said, that was probably Kai Wagner's best game defensively on the season. And even with the backline changes halfway through the game, it looked like the Union weren't skipping a beat. Cincinnati had a lot of the ball, as you would expect them to have, but they really struggled to break down that Union back line. And as Bradley Cornell said, it's bravery. It's bravery. They don't change their game model. They continue to play their game, whether it be at home or away. And I think really, Jose, that's been key. That the Union don't go into places, sit deep like they normally do or have in the past. And because of that, you're going to see the Union just continue to get results on the road. They've now tied the most wins on the road in club history with 7. They have 3 games remaining on the road: Vancouver, DC, Charlotte. And it's very possible in those last 3 road games that the Union get one more win and finish the year with 8 wins on the road, which would be insane for this team.
Todd, I gotta tell you, I've been fixated on the fight behind me. I just saw 2 players throw literal fist in the post game of Miami and Seattle. So I defensively, yes, the Union are incredible. Few games to go on the road. Maybe they continue. Look at Suarez yelling at an older staffer. Is he pushing him? Get out of here. Are you going to get copyrighted for this?
I don't know. Is the game over?
Yeah, Seattle won 3-0.
Who was throwing punches?
Aviles, the young.
Of course, he's a hothead center back. Yeah.
He's they're all so goofy, man. And by goofy, I mean to use another word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Just so silly. All right, let's. Sorry about that, Todd. I was just looking, and I can't.
I see the comments. It's all what people are talking about. They're with you, Jose, talking about the scrum. So I'm glad to see there's a whole bunch of MLS sickos in here that care about the League's Cup as you do yourself, Jose. So that was wild watching it behind you. And for people again who are listening on the RSS feed, I guess you guys are gonna have to go and watch the game on replay. Maybe you guys have already seen it. So, but I'm sure it's going to be
No,
on social media.
Todd, how often do we see actual fights in MLS, or I guess between MLS teams? Not often, right?
Not often, no.
Not often. So to me, it was just like, okay, and that's the PR guy right there, the long hair guy. I'm going the wrong way.
I see.
Long hair guy right there. Yeah, he put me in an elevator to go up there, Seattle, to the press area. So it's funny to recognize him.
That is so funny. But let's go ahead and switch topics. I mean, we're talking about the defense, and a big part of that, yes, was the back line, but it was Andrew Rick, right? I have it as 4 saves. MLS has it as 5 saves, and FootMob has it as 3 saves. Regardless, there was multiple saves last night from Andrew Rick, and the performance he had last night, I would say Andrew Rick's making a strong case to be the Union starting goalkeeper. I know some people might want to say this season, but you're probably right, Jose. Maybe more of a case next season. And yes, you pay Andre Blake over $1 million, and how do you justify putting that on the bench? Especially all Andre's done for the club, but Andrew Rick, every single game he's played in this season, Jose, he gets better and better. And Bradley Cornell said last night that he would put his performance against Cincinnati on par with his performance against Atlanta early in the season when the Union won 1-0 thanks to a Ty Buribo penalty kick. Derek Williams of Atlanta had a late shot on target in the 98th minute, and Rick came up to preserve all 3 points for the Union. But I love what I'm seeing from Andrew Rick, Jose, and this is why you and I had said that he needs to play consistently, because he needs to get constant game time. And if he's not going to be your starting goalkeeper next year for the Union, he's got to go on loan. Like, he's got to play at a higher level than MLS Next Pro.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, I don't know how much we can beat that drum any further, because he is putting up performances like last night and periodically when he finally gets the chance. And sure, he has some clunkers in between, right, with MLS Next Pro. I think he had I wish it was a replay, but I remember reading of a game not too long ago where he basically passed the ball to the opponent more or less, and they went ahead and just turned it around and scored, leading them to, I think, losing that game or drawing that game. I can't remember. They certainly didn't win that game. So he still has those moments, but you also cannot forget that he's only 19, right? He still has gigantic runway to be better than he is now. And one thing I'll point out actually is, and I don't know what George Marks is on in terms of salary, but when he left Charlotte, when he was waived, he was on $104,000, and Andrew Rick is currently on $91,000 per year as a Union player. So an interesting point there, but I do feel also gutted for Rick in a way. You know, I don't understand how he doesn't get called to the main under 20 US youth national team while he's having performances like this, or last year some of those sporadic really, really good ones. But neither here or there. I think he is either he and his agent are going to have a decision to make, and maybe a conversation to have with the Union brass onto what does the future look like, specifically starting January 2, 2026, when the league calendar has flipped, playoffs, the cup is, sorted, and teams are preparing for next season. Because if Rick is not that they go on and promise things, but if there's not a clear signal to Andrew that this is going to be a year where he plays a hell of a lot more than he did this year, what's the point of sticking around and maybe wasting those formative years where he could go and play for a Louisville City, a contending USL team, and probably be pretty damn good and maybe win something with them while also getting experience and minutes under his belt. So decisions that he and his agent will have to make, but certainly impressing all around here in the last couple of years. Not just this year. He didn't just develop this year, last couple of years where he's really shown what he's all about.
I agree. And yeah, you and I have talked about the USL Championship would make a lot of sense for Andrew Rick, but honestly, Jose, like, there's probably teams in MLS that could use Andrew Rick right now too. And I look at the team right down 95 South in DC United. they could use a goalkeeper. Would the Union feel comfortable, confident that DC would help his development? I don't know. It's a question for them to decide amongst themselves, but I'm sure that there would be some teams. I mean, we see David Vasquez go out to San Diego and he's getting consistent playing time with San Diego and he's doing well in his minutes. And I would imagine that San Diego probably picks up that buy option on the loan that they have for David Vasquez, but we'll see once the season ends. But maybe we should start talking about that. Yeah, maybe Andrew Rick's ceiling's higher at the moment than the USL Championship for his development. Maybe there are teams in MLS that could use Andrew Rick, because as things stand, Rick has a 7-1-4 record with Union this season in his starts. Only loss coming against New York City, which was back in April on that god awful baseball field. First time in his young career that he has back-to-back clean sheets for the Union. But the thing for me, Jose, is he's averaging 0.87 goals against per 90 minutes, which is the lowest amongst qualifying goalkeepers in MLS. 0.87 goals conceded. That's insane. That is insane. In 13 appearances this season that Rick's made, 12 of those starts, he's making it difficult, Jose. He's really making it difficult for what the Union should do. Not only for next season, but I would argue this year. Yes, Andre Blake's been great. He always comes up with one or two great saves, but you saw it last night with Rick coming up with multiple big saves and maybe none bigger than the 16th minute on Evander's free kick. I mean, that's a difficult save for Andrew Rick. The ball bounces in front of him. He parries it to his right and gets it out of traffic. And Bradley Cornell praised that save last night and just praised what he's seeing from his young goalkeeper.
As a young goalkeeper, you need to win the trust of your teammates. And Andrew does that every single day in training, and then two, you have to perform under pressure, but you have to learn how to thrive with the pressure too. And I spoke about the two saves he makes early on. And the first one was excellent. The way the ball bounces on, just before him and the way he reads it and parries it away to the side. A lot of goalkeepers will just push that out and somebody just taps it home. So, to get the clearance on that one was magnificent. And then, through those actions, and I take it back to Atlanta, we played away in Atlanta and he had one of his best games there that we've seen. And then, today was probably on par with that. And you can just see the confidence growing within the group and know that Rick's got their back. And then all of a sudden, this is just now a bit of momentum building and taking your chances at the key times. I think, we could have and should have scored earlier and more. And even when we were a man down, I think we had one or two good moments as well.
Yeah, not much to add from that Bradley Cornell quote on Andrew Rick, but yeah, it's obvious for all who watch Union games that his teammates believe in him, that there is more trust this season than there was last year when Andrew Rick was having to fill in for Andre Blake. And yeah, this kid's going to be special. And I know I've seen comments from people in this fan base saying, oh no, it's going to be another Matt Freese situation. There's no way the Union allow that to happen once again. And look, I wouldn't be shocked if Jamaica qualifies for the World Cup next season and then afterwards Andre Blake decides to retire afterwards. I wouldn't be surprised, right? We know goalkeepers can play well into their 40s, but with all the injuries we've seen from Andre Blake, the Union have compensated him well over the years. We've seen him invest in a whole bunch of different restaurants and everything. He's doing well with his money and everything. And I'm sure part of that's thinking, what's life going to be like after soccer? Seems like a very smart businessman, Andre Blake, that is. But yeah, I can't see Andrew Rick becoming another Matt Freese. I really can. And Rick's making it very difficult, I would imagine, for what the Union do going forward in the goalkeeping department.
Yeah, and that's just it. It's at this point when you look at the Union, yes, they haven't developed every single goalkeeper that has gone on to play MLS, USL, etc., whatever level they end up at. But you can't deny that there's something to be said about, again, you and I sort of like looked at each other in New York City or whatever, and City Field and thought, all three of their goalkeepers at one point played for the Union, right? And how just good Andre Blake has been over the years. There has to be a point where some of these keepers have to figure out, or the Union need to figure out what, I don't want to say what the exit strategy is, but how do you face Andre Blake out? Because he's not going to get younger. His knees are not going to get better. His groin, whatever, etc. Like, it's not going to get suddenly back to when he was 20, etc. So it's going to be a tough decision for Andrew and his agent. That's for sure. It's going to be very tough. And whether that is to stay in Philadelphia and try to nuke it out, or it's the union saying, okay, Andre, this is what the future holds for you, and this is how we're going to go about it. Or again, Andrew going on loan. I just hope that there's a clear message sent. And again, I don't know what those conversations are like, or how they go about it, but I hope that it's advantageous for all the parties involved, because again, I genuinely think that Andrew is such a incredible prospect for this club that he could probably start on a good bit of MLS teams as is. And certainly I think he could step into just about every single USL team as well. So I hate to say it, but like if Oliver Semler can suddenly become the starter at North Carolina FC, I think Andrew Rick can be the starter at just about anywhere.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jose. We are an hour, 15 minutes into the podcast, and so we'll go ahead and skip the last topic I wanted to talk about for this game, which is totally fine because I feel like we talk about the depth quite often on this show, so no need to talk about it again. But we will talk about Blunder of the Week, and a lot of you guys in the comments are saying, oh, Blunder of the Week's got to go to the scrum at the end of the game between Seattle Sounders and Inter Miami, and maybe you're right. I saw somebody had posted on Twitter. I'll have to watch the video myself that apparently Suarez spit at a staff member on Seattle. I'll have to go back and rewatch that, see if that is exactly what happened.
I have the clip here. It's not a good. It's an older staff member too, like a I wouldn't say like 80-year-old, but I wouldn't say 50. Somewhere between like an older gentleman that helps Seattle. And it's not a good look for Inter Miami. Not a good look at all.
It's got to be a multi-game suspension. It's got to be, right? Unless, I mean, Inter Miami is MLS's darlings, and maybe they get a slap on the wrist and nothing comes of it. Maybe they say they don't have clear enough evidence, but everybody is tired of what's happening with Miami, except for Miami. Obviously, it's like, oh, why is MLS teams and fan bases ganging up on us? Why do they hate us? And it's like when you get Messi just push every single weekend down the fans' throats, of course they're going to get annoyed. I mean, what was it? Last week in the League's Cup, you had MLS celebrating the goals that Miami were scoring against Orlando City, and Orlando City should have had a penalty in that game. And yeah, I mean, there seems to be a clear bias. Maybe there isn't, but fans are just tired of Miami. And I don't think it has anything. Well, actually, it does have to do with Messi. It has to do with how much the league.
Everything to do with Messi.
it has to do with just how much the league's pushing into Miami into these fan bases, and people are tired of it. And then you obviously have the antics of Luis Suarez, even prior to tonight, what he's done in Europe, and then you have the whole fighting incident and whatnot. You have the racial abuse with Patrice Evra when he was playing with Liverpool and Manchester United with Evra, and so it's like he has a history and whatnot, and fans knew what Luis Suarez is, and now you have this latest incident where he's spitting at a staff member. So it's like, yeah, just MLS fans are tired of what Inter Miami is, and yeah, I mean, you're never going to convince Miami fans of that because it's like, oh, they can do no wrong. But I say all that to get to the actual blunder of the week, since Valerie said, sorry, we hijacked the comments. It's cool. We just threw everybody for a little bit of a ride. So this one comes courtesy of Kyle Omni alerting us all to this horrible own goal that Lexington SC conceded in their game last night against Las Vegas Lights. In net for Lexington was former Union 2 goalkeeper Brooks Thompson. And my God, guys, let's hope that ESPN, USL don't take the live stream off. But this is a terrible own goal. So Las Vegas plays the ball forward, and now the center back plays the ball back to Brooks Thompson, takes his eye off the ball, and rolls into the back of the net. I mean, that is a horrendous goal to concede 17 minutes into the game. And this is how the game ended, by the way. 1-0, Las Vegas wins because of a sloppy own goal. And you can see Brooks Thompson not happy with that. I would assume that's Lexington's now maybe Las Vegas's coach. It looked like maybe he was talking to the Las Vegas players, but regardless, I mean, my God, we'll see the replay here because this
Look
is
at 'em laugh.
so bad. Yeah, they can't believe it, right? I mean, this is a joke. Ball gets played forward, and then it gets picked out here by the center back, plays it back to Brooks Thompson, and Thompson doesn't even look at the ball. I don't even know what he's thinking here. I mean, he tries to trap it, and he's like, oh, crap, it's too late. I mean, what a terrible goal to concede there. It's bush
the
league
only thing
stuff.
the only thing I would say about that play. So this happened to if any Fleetwood area high school players between 2008 and 2006 and 2010, 2011 were around, they would remember that we had this happen at Muhlenberg Area High School where it was extra time. We passed the ball back to our goalkeeper in varsity, and this exact thing happened. So for the following 3 or 4 weeks of practice, we practiced ball passes back to our goalkeeper. But the reality is that pass should have been angled away from the net. So instead of going directly at the goalkeeper, that should have been more away from that post where Brooks Thompson's standing and making him run a little bit more. So like rather than having it stop there at the top of the 6 or whatever, should have been away from the 6, closer to the post. So if the ball does roll under his foot, it's not going into the net, but rather going for a corner kick. That's the only technical thing that could have been done better.
I mean, so bad. So I'm watching this, Jose. Obviously, we were watching that, but I was looking at the lineup because Cole says, man, CJ didn't even feature yesterday. No, he did not. He was, according to Kyle Almany, warming up the goalkeepers before the game, having shots, which is interesting. But I'm looking at this. So the center back that passed it back to Brooks Thompson was Kendall Burks, former Chicago Fire center back. And I'm looking at this roster for Lexington. A lot of former MLS guys. Obviously, you have Marcus Epps, former Philadelphia Union player. You have Nick Firmino, who was with Atlanta United. Corey Burke started the game last night for Lexington. So, I mean, they do have former MLS players, and they do have, at least on paper, quality players. But to see Brooks Thompson, who was given the goal as against, they gave him the own goal. I mean, that's as bad as it comes, Jose. That is as bad as it comes. And so that is why Brooks Thompson's own goal against Las Vegas is blunder of the week.
Yeah, not good.
No, not good at all. But I appreciate everybody chiming into the podcast. Jose and I knew that it would go over an hour and 10. We're at an hour 22. That's why we skipped a segment, just because we love to talk. And we started this podcast talking about golf, and maybe we could have saved ourselves 10 minutes if we didn't talk about golf. And then it turned into, I feel like, 10 minutes talking about the scrum at the end of the Seattle Sounders versus Inter Miami Leagues Cup final. But look, that's all good. We're having fun. 291 of you guys strong here. We appreciate the support. And it is Labor Day weekend, 10:25 at night it is. I will have the podcast out for you guys that listen to this on the RSS feed tomorrow morning. But Jose, if people aren't following you on social media yet, which is crazy that they haven't yet, where can they follow you?
Jose R. Núñez 91. Is that what I'm at? That's
Yes.
where I'm at, right? That is Jose R. Núñez 91. Yes, thank you, Todd. That's where I'm at. You can find me there. And I got nothing to pimp out, just hopping around different podcasts and getting set up for a trip to the West Coast here in the coming week or so. So I haven't had a chance to really do much outside of regular game coverage.
Yeah, it's crazy, Jose. So I don't know if you decided yet if you're going to be at the New York City final home game, but I won't be at the New England game on the 20th. So hopefully you'll be at the New York City game on October 3rd, I believe that game is, because it's been a minute since we've seen each other, I feel like. And maybe by the time you come back to Subaru Park, people are going to be like, who are you? I haven't seen you in so long. Like you're going to be a special guest because you haven't been there so long. So people are going to be like, oh my God, somebody from MLS showed up. They're gracing us with their presence. I kid. But if you guys aren't following,
forgetting about me wouldn't be a bad thing, Todd, over there around those circles. It would not be a bad thing.
Yeah. No comment. If you aren't following the podcast on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, follow @FreeKickPod wherever you get your podcasts, The Free Kick. check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/freekickpod. You can also check out the goals breakdown video on YouTube. We're live every single podcast on YouTube. Goals breakdown video will be recorded, uploaded sometime tomorrow. No promises of the time, but it will be out tomorrow. And if you guys want to check out my writing, my podcast, or the goals breakdown video all in one place, check out thefreekick.substack.com. And yeah, I'm very distracted by that comment that Jose just said. I really have no comment, but yeah, that's where we got to end the show. So I hope you guys have an enjoyable Labor Day. Hopefully you guys aren't working. If you guys are working, thank you for working on a holiday that seems like most of America has off for. So thank you guys always for your comments on the show. Thank you guys for staying up super late at night and just entertaining Jose and I's bullcrap. But that said, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.